Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Bruce, that was a tough.
Hey, David.
Hey, yeah. That was it's not as devastating as that loss to Anaheim, or as frustrating when the Oilers gave up 3 goals there in the last minute or a few minutes. That was a really tough loss, though. 4-3, 4-3 to the Hawks, Bruce, and they scored 3 goals out of nothing on point shots. Pretty much nothing situations. Point shots that got deflected, and it is so frustrating. All these years, I don't know. Like, does every team give up as many deflected goals as the Oilers do, or is this just an Oilers specialty in big playoff games?
Felt like a game against San Jose Sharks tonight.
Yeah.
Remember that game this year when the Sharks got 6 goals and they were basically all the same goal?
And Bruce, they were late.
Deflected in front.
Yeah, they were late to the point on each of those shots. They were, I don't know, maybe they're trying to take away down low, so you got to give up something. Maybe, you're always going to give up, so they're giving up the point shot. But, man, that strategy, when the Oilers are playing well, Bruce, under Tippett, they don't do that. They're not playing well defensively. They're disjointed defensively. They've been disjointed defensively all through this series. They're not even close to playing their A game on defense, and it could cost them the series in the end because I think that the more talented team, but they're just out of sync and out of whack. And Chicago's right now the better team, and I thought actually Chicago was the better team in this game and deserved that win. Yeah, I think they were slightly better than the Oilers were. It was a really weird game, disjointed, and so many iffy penalty calls, and we're going to get to all this. So this is our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. What is your good thing, Bruce?
Well, I'm going to go with Leon Draisaitl's game. I was expecting him to bounce back with a strong game tonight, and he did, delivering the first 2 Edmonton goals and setting up the third one by Connor McDavid. He was... unfortunately, the loser of the face-off that led to the game-winning goal against. No doubt he'll take some criticism for that. But I thought, he was the offense tonight. This was a night I didn't think McDavid and his line had very much going on. And the Draisaitl line brought it. And big man came up with, he was in on all 3 Edmonton goals. And for a time, it looked like it might be enough for them to hang on and win 3-2. But that was not to be.
Some games in the third period this year, the Oilers have really played well with a lead. And you get the sense they're going to win the game. I never had that sense this game that they just seemed to lack energy. They lacked physical play. And tough to get physical play going. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah. My good thing, and I had a hard time, honestly, thinking of a good thing because the McDavid line wasn't really going. The Draisaitl line at even strength wasn't really going. I mean, they did score. They got some breaks that went their way, especially after Ennis got hurt. Athanasiou is lost on that line. Don't put him on that line. He
every play died when it reached his stick, didn't it?
It did, and it's because he's so tentative. He's not playing well. Like, get him off of that line. Anyway, and then the Sheahan line, Sheahan gave up the puck on the boards there on the tying goal. Anyway, the one line that I thought was pretty good all game long, although they were out for a goal against 2, was the big line of Kara, Neal, and Chason. They're the only line, Bruce, when I'm watching them, and I think, other than McDavid himself, and maybe Nugent Hopkins, who I think, okay, these other players are totally in a playoff mode. And even Draisaitl, I didn't think in this game, was totally in a playoff mode all game. There was times when he just seemed to be sleeping out there again. So it's just a few players who seem to have that huge level of intensity, and Kara, James, Neal, and Chason seem to have it, where they're just really playing smart hockey and also just going for it hard, battling hard. James Neal made a really nice play on Connor McDavid's power play goal to end the second period, where he backed into the Chicago defender, leaving McDavid all kinds of time to make that play and get that goal. So I'll go with that line of Neal, Kara, and Chason. I think J.J. Kara is playing his best hockey as an Oiler. He's did have him. I did have him as a culprit on the first goal. I believe he was a little late to the point, but he is playing well. He's skating well and moving well with the puck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been liking his game, and that whole line, like you say, they got a couple of real pros on the wings on those lines, and they're playing hard. They're playing for keeps. I've liked Jason's game throughout the series, and really James Neal. This is as good as he's looked since early in the season.
That's right.
I think he broke his toe in November, and he was never sort of he was never fast to begin with, but he was never even sort of average speed after that. And whereas now he's skating well for him and getting places and making things happen when he gets there and playing with a little attitude too. I'd like to see a bit more of that from some of the other players.
Put him with McDavid. Like put him and Chase on up with, or him and Chase on with McDavid as a top line and reunite the dynamite line. Like
put him with Draisaitl rather than Athanasiou. Move Neal up with Draisaitl maybe because
exactly. Like Neal's earned a promotion and I think he will get one. I'll be surprised if he doesn't for next game. Chaseon's also played very well. Like he's hustling out there. Bruce, your bad thing.
Well, it's got to be the weakness to the point shots. I mean, Chicago's been scoring goals off the point. It seems like, game one, I got a few goals from there. And I mean, we're not even talking about Duncan Keith and Adam Boqvist. We're talking about guys like Connor Murphy, Ollie Matta, Slater Kook, for goodness sake. I mean, these are like third pairing, defensive defensemen, and they're just lobbing pucks in from the point. The Oilers aren't getting to the shooting lanes, and they're certainly not covering the slots where the guys are skating free for deflections or in front of the net. And I thought they were, obviously the tying and winning goals. I mean, I'm sure those were Chicago's last two shots of the game, and they were both sort of, soft shots from outside. And come on. You gotta compete against those shots. I mean, Zach Cassian's coverage on the tying goal. Riley Shane couldn't handle the hard pass into skates and kicked it into the middle of the ice, and then Cassian was late getting to the shooting lane from the point. And I mean, come on, Zach. You played 6 minutes and 20 seconds tonight. So what do you got to show for it besides, making a key defensive mistake at a crucial point in the game? Like Oilers need better from, and some of it's just, meat and potato stuff like covering the points. And they're just not getting that part done. And meantime, compare and contrast, how many goals have the Oilers created out of the blue line, plays from the blue line? I think it's pretty close to 0 for the 3 games, isn't it?
Benning got that shot. Benning got that shot on net. So that was one where the Oilers got
you're right.
A similar kind of play when against Chicago. But the Oilers don't seem to get that play, Bruce. They don't have defensemen who particularly, other than Baron Benning, they don't have defensemen who are particularly adept at quickly getting the puck on net, I'll suggest.
Or it's that guy cruising through the slot for the deflection.
Oh God, there was when the Draisaitl line was out there in the third period. Like I was looking like, who's in front of the net? Like Draisaitl would have the puck in the corner, and Yamamoto. This is again Athanasiou just not fitting in on that line at all. Like just go stand in front of the net, buddy, and you might. But he just seems like he's so tentative and not wanting to make a mistake out there.
Like a duck out of water, wasn't he? Like he was so tentative with the puck and just couldn't make anything happen with it.
Maybe Chase on one line and Neal on the other. Like. How about that? Like get those hard veteran players up on the top line, top 2 lines, and let's go out that way if we're going to go out. The winning goal, Bruce. They had Nurse and Bear reversed for the face-off.
Why?
But why? Yeah, why? And why was Ethan Bear alone in front of the net, having to cover 2 players? He was covering 2 players alone in front of the net, so he can't take the stick of either.
Right.
And what ends up happening, he's going to try to stop Taves, who had an easy tip if Bear doesn't get there and Bear accidentally tips it in. Ethan Bear, I thought, was the Oilers' best defenseman. Other than that, that was just a tough play. That'll happen. I don't
the
even
goal
blame
actually has been credited to Taves.
Oh, it has.
They both kind of got their stick on it at the same time, but
yeah.
Bear got a piece of it, and then I think it might have nicked Taves or they may just have invoked the deity rule and given it to him because he was in the neighborhood.
They gave it to him for that epic stare down. That was it. That they just thought you have an epic stare down like that with James Neal, and you at some point this game we must award you a goal. Bruce, my bad thing, and it's not necessarily just against the Oilers because Chicago I think had reason to complain as well. But this game was over officiated. Every little ticky-tack thing, especially against the Oilers, seemed to be called. There was a couple of super questionable penalty calls. Chris Russell's penalty where he, I didn't know that angling and pinning was against the rules in the NHL, but apparently it is, and it led to a 5-on-3. Athanasiou's penalty was also particularly lame. And it just,
what did he even do?
Yeah.
I couldn't. That was finally the one where I blew my cool and I wrote on Twitter. I said, now they're just making shit up. And it got over 200 likes on Twitter, so apparently other people seem to be seeing the same thing. Like that was like 5 penalties in about 7 minutes, and they were calling this lame stuff over and over again. I mean, let them play friggin' hockey.
Without the fans there, Bruce, without the fans there to get on the refs for ticky-tack fouls, maybe they feel they can do that. They're just calling it so close. And what we're seeing because of it is this. The Oilers can't engage in a ton of physical play. If they did, they'd probably get called all the time. I mean, it was just very frustrating to see what they thought were a couple of those penalties. Like some of them were penalties, like Archibald's late hit. I thought probably, and some they'd let that go because in the NHL they usually let late hits go, but that was a penalty. And there was another one where Benning was over aggressive, I think, and late, if I'm not mistaken, and probably deserved a penalty, but. And then I don't know if DeBrincat deserved the double minor, like where the Oilers got the power play goal. Like where was the double minor?
I thought he brought his stick up originally into was it Benning's face, but it was a pretty borderline, and there was a few pretty borderline ones, and then some of the couple more obvious ones didn't get called. But that's refereeing in the NHL, especially when Mark Joannette is involved. And Dan O'Rourke, they were the masterminds behind this game. And, the very erratic officiating really took a lot of flow out of this game. I mean, the penalties in the end didn't hurt the Oilers. Each team got Edmonton got 2 power play goals. They each got 1. Edmonton got 1.
Yeah, each got 1.
For 3, and Chicago got 1 for 6, including that 5-on-3 after that lame holding penalty call on Russell that put his team 2 men short. I was pretty surprised by that call against a veteran. I thought veterans are supposed to get the calls. Russell had the stick chopped out of his hands. He went back, he pinned the guy against the boards. He put his arm in there, but it wasn't like he grabbed him. He actually put his wrist out in front of the guy to sort of guide him into the guard. To call that holding? Like, he was like
they're just struggling for position, and what a tough goal that was. I mean,
and then so many bad bounces on that play. I mean, Leon tipped the puck that would have gone out of the zone, except for it basically hit Taves on the way out. They kept it in, and then on the goal itself, like Nurse took one guy's stick, Draisaitl took another guy's stick, Taves, and the puck hit his skate, dribbled towards the net. Koskinen dives over and it actually catches his paddle, and it's Koskinen that put it in. I think it was going off the post until he got a stick on it and changed direction and pulled it into just inside the post. 4 seconds left in the period. Just a killer.
This was not Koskinen's best game, Bruce. He
was not good.
There's 12 grade A shots and 4 goals against, so that's a lot of grade A shots. But 5 of those grade A shots were off the post, so he didn't make saves on them. In fact,
5. I counted 4, but yeah, sure.
Well, I thought it was 5.
Maybe it was.
And that's not good goaltending when you're letting in half the real grade A shots. And on that goal, I thought he stumbled at the side of the net, which is why he was so out of position and so late lunging to the play because he had stumbled earlier. And he just seemed all game long, just like the rest of the Oilers, just a little bit stumbling and halting.
At least two missed plays of what should have been relatively easy shots that wound up with big rebounds and I mean, there was one that was going to be a goal if Ethan Bear doesn't come up with a big save in the crease, and I think that was on one of the plays where Koskinen kind of lost his mojo and couldn't freeze the puck and lost his position, and the wound up Bear was the guy in the crease that kept the puck from going in the net.
We'll see Smith. We'll see Smith.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the concern now, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
What we need to see is Mike Smith that's laser focused and comes back with his A game, and maybe that happens, but there's also a reasonably good chance it doesn't happen, and there's now literally zero margin for error. One more bad game and the season's over.
Okay, your number.
I'm going to go with 13-3. And that is the shot attempts in this game when Caleb Jones was on the ice. He had to come in and play because Adam Larson was deemed unfit to play just before the game. And all day it sounded like the Oilers were just going to go with their lineup. And whatever was the issue with Larson, which nobody seemed too sure about, it seemed like the Oilers, like at the very beginning of the game, I thought they looked very rattled. And I wondered if that was it. And, they stabilized when Draisaitl tied it at 1-1, but the first 10 minutes were not pretty at all.
Brutal.
And then Caleb Jones, he only played 9 minutes and 43 seconds, and his partner, Matthew Benning, played 9 minutes as well. And so they were really getting spotted in the third period. They were only getting very short shifts on the fly. Tippett would sneak them over the boards, and as soon as there was a whistle, they would go back to the bench. But they wound up +1, and they wound up, with the puck going the right way. And, as numbers go, there's a lot of sort of mishmash of, guys around 50% in a lot of these stats. And the Jones-Benning pair really jumps off the page for the possession numbers, at least. And like I say, it did turn into one Edmonton goal and no problems against while they were out there.
Yeah, I thought Jones was a little better than Benning. Benning made a few mistakes in the game, a couple bad pinches, whereas Jones was less inclined to do so and looked good with the puck. I mean, I really like Caleb Jones. I think if they had gone with him this year, he could be playing as well as Ethan Bear right now. I think he's got that level of ability, and he's a very good player. I mean, Ethan Bear is a very good player. They have two players like that, and hopefully they'll find more ice time for Jones. Maybe some of it could have come at the expense of Darnell Nurse tonight, who had a pretty rough game, Bruce, I thought.
Ooh, did he ever?
So my number is 6, which is the number of mistakes on grade A chances that Nurse made in one game, which is usually about 3 games worth for a defenseman, even playing tough competition. He just didn't seem on it, Bruce. And
this was as passive a game as I've seen from Darnell Nurse in a long, long time. And here's passive as you can read it in the stats. -2, no points. 0 shot attempts of any description. I mean, for Darnell Nurse, that is extremely rare. He's always sort of flipping pucks, on net, bad angles and stuff. But he's, he gets his attempts. 0 shot attempts, 0 hits. I bet you could look through the entire season and not find one of those for this player. 3 giveaways, and the only positives were 3 block shots. Where I just thought he was passive. He was laying down on the penalty kill, lying down in the net and the crease, and trying to take away the passing lane, and just none of his normal aggressiveness where he just takes charge and finishes a guy into the boards, and they're just that aspect of his game was just lacking tonight. And as you say, 6 scoring chances against. It was just not his night at all.
Yeah, and that's him being a major culprit on them too. He's not just not out there for it. He's actually making big mistakes on them. And I don't know. It's just not his. I thought he was actually really strong on the penalty kill, Bruce. I mean, the Oilers' penalty kill was fantastic. truly it was. I mean, they shut down that team. They didn't get any. Chicago didn't, except for the one grade A scoring chance. They didn't have any other grade A scoring chances on a power play.
The one on the 5-on-3 off.
That's right. That's it. That was it. So that's damn good penalty killing, and Nurse was a big part of that. So I really give him credit for that. So like on the penalty kill, he was like an 8. I thought it may be a 7, but at even strength, he was like a 2. You know, he just that was not close to what he needs to play at. As a veteran player,
way better.
As a veteran player who's got to step up and lead this team in the playoffs, that wasn't close to it. You know, McDavid, he's doing it. I think he's playing well. Nugent Hopkins is playing well. Draisaitl had his best game. Some of the other veterans are, but he's got to step up. He and Clefbaum have got to step up. Clefbaum, I thought, was actually pretty good. He didn't get caught on a lot of mistakes this game, Bruce, whereas he had done so more in other games. So he played a pretty quiet game, but was okay. But both he and I thought Russell got better as the game went on. He's in a tough spot having to make those backhand passes on his offside. Like, it just is a bad idea. But I would have preferred Caleb Jones with Clefbaum in that spot. And, you know, they're not going to do that because that's not how it goes in the NHL. But that's what I would have liked to see.
Coach likes his veterans, though. And you watch Chris Russell play long enough, you can see why the coach likes him.
I like him.
If you can watch him with an unjaundiced eye, some people see what they, you know.
You just look at the backhand passes up the boards. Anymore.
Yeah.
Then you're upset all the time and you don't see anything else. But, man, he is such a great defensive hockey player. He really is. And
he was aggressive. He was taking the man, and he had a couple of, as he often does, very good shot blocks in this game, and good on the penalty kill also. But he stepped up into a difficult role. But unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough for a pretty crucial game.
He only made 2 major mistakes on goal, scoring grade 8 chances against. One of them was on the goal where he screened the goalie. That was a very tough play, of course, because he's trying to take out, I think it was Doc.
Kirby Doc, probably giving up 20 or 30 pounds to him. Eh?
Kirby Doc looks
a monster.
Yeah, he's looking good. He does, and I have to be happy about that because he's from Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta, so he's a local kid, and even though he's on with the Blackhawks, I have to be really happy to see that kind of play from him. Good for Kirby Doc. That was a wicked hit that Archibald threw on him. It was like Craig Muni or Brian Marchment. Could have been I don't know.
That was a Charlie horse in the making. He got him right on the thigh.
Yeah.
And he went off wincing, and I thought, Charlie horse, and I mean he might be sore tomorrow, but he came back and came back for more. And, you know, he played the most of any Chicago forward. Kirby Doc, what is he, 18, maybe 19 years old now? I don't know what his birthday is.
Wow.
I know he was drafted last year. He played 23 minutes and 21 seconds in this game as a forward. That was a ton of ice time for a teenager. Holy moly.
The weird thing is, Bruce, we went into this series worried about Patrick Kane. And he's been pretty much, it's the scary thing is he's been pretty much a non-factor. And Frack, like, if he goes off in a game like, so the Oilers are just in a super tough position. They could easily be out of this series. You know, that said, that was a super close game that could have gone to either team, obviously. But that's hockey, and it didn't go to the Oilers. The bounces didn't go against them. And again, I thought, weighing all those goalposts in with the 4 goals that they did get, I thought Chicago was the superior team tonight.
4 goals on 25 shots plus a mitt full of posts.
Yeah.
What did you have the final scoring chances at?
They were 12 each.
12 each, eh?
12 each, Bruce.
Well, Natural Stat Trick had high danger chances, which is their equivalent to ours, but with different parameters. But the same general idea of dangerous chances from close range is 15 for Edmonton and 7 for Chicago. So they had
7.
Edmonton.
Do they not count goalposts? Maybe they don't.
Well, it depends where the shot comes from, I guess. If it comes from 40 feet.
Do they don't count deflections off your own team even?
That's a
screen
good
goals, like screen goals where the goalie doesn't see it?
7 seems low, but
Yeah, seven.
It was,
There's seven. That's kind of low considering they did hit at least 4 posts, and almost all of those were from slot shots. I think all of them were, or one of them was a cross. Like the first, there was a cross seam to Doc early in the first period, which maybe would have been a great B shot, but it's a cross seam across the Royal
right.
Road, and he hits the post. That's a great A
Yeah,
chance. So
yeah. For us, it is. For natural stat trick, it's all about where the shot comes from.
yeah, they might not be factoring in other factors which lead to degree of difficulty in a shot. Well, Bruce, any final thoughts?
Better win Friday. Better win Saturday. No margin for error now, and that it's so frustrating because this was a game I thought they were in pretty good shape with 10 minutes to go in the third
I
period.
agree, Bruce.
And what I didn't like was they weren't generating any offense. I thought they were getting the play out of their own end by and large, but I thought a fourth goal would be just huge, and they never even really came close to it. And in the third period, eventually 2 point shots and 2 perfect deflections, and that lead has gone up in smoke, and they can't even make it to overtime.
Well, again, it's partly, if Ennis doesn't get hurt, then that Yamamoto line, that Draisaitl line was cranking it up, right?
Mhm.
And that was the difference. That line, Yamamoto and Draisaitl were ready to go, and they just couldn't. They had the puck a lot between them, but they just couldn't get it going. I'm not really blaming Athanasiou necessarily because he doesn't fit in on that line for whatever reason. But the coach could maybe, put James, you don't have to put Athanasiou there. You could put James Neal. So I haven't been loving Tippett's coaching, but a lot of this has to do with just, I think, an overall rustiness after being off for whatever it was, 4 months, 4.5 months. And we're seeing it in all kinds of aspects of the Oilers game right now. And it's had a big impact on the series. Of course, the Chicago's up against the same thing, so excuses are for losers.
Each team's got 13 goals in the series. It's a toss up, but
yeah.
Chicago's managed to get the extra one in the odd game tonight, and just like that, same thing happens with Montreal and Pittsburgh. 12th seed is ahead of the 5th seed, two games to one, and these were the 2 series that were the heavy favorites in each conference, of course, 5 against 12, and hockey, it's such a crapshoot, David. It's the outcomes that there's so much randomness in hockey. This is where you like 82 games as opposed to 5. And when you were 12 points ahead of the team that now all of a sudden had the playing field leveled, it's a little bit hard to swallow. And with all that said, I mean, the COVID situation has screwed up a whole lot of things worldwide. And hockey is just one of those things.
I really am glad to see the hockey. I really am enjoying this. So even though that was a very frustrating game, it's been a frustrating series, and there's been some pretty special moments, like McDavid's goal the other night was such a special goal that if they don't come back, we don't see that. So McDavid really deserved this is why I was hoping he'd get a chance in these playoffs, because he deserves this stage, and he's not yet done on this stage. It's not over till it's over. And we have yet to hear everything we're going to hear from Connor McDavid, I think, in this series, Bruce. And that'll be my final word.
Right. All right. Yeah. Well, he did score tonight. I didn't think he was near his best, but he did put the Oilers ahead and put them in position to win. But we'll need big guns firing and the little guns firing to extract a victory out of the series now, down 2-1. It's a pretty grim situation.
All right. Thanks for talking, Bruce.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast. To be an Oilers fan is to suffer, Bruce.